Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the news series. Today we are going to discuss one of the deadliest earthquakes to be recorded on Earth. We are talking about the earthquake that shattered Turkey and Syria. What was the reason for it? Which are the areas that have been affected? Apart from that, what is an earthquake? What is the predictability ratio of earthquake? I mean, how do you predict an earthquake? Everything will be discussed step by step. From the perspective of GS Mains Paper 1, it is important that we discuss all this. India has sent help through NDRF, and Turkey and Syria, they are asking for help from the world over, saying that we are not in a very good state to help our own. We would like to receive help, and India was one of the 4 front runners, we can say, in this situation. So let us talk about the news. The news says that a magnitude 7.8 earthquake shook Turkey and Syria, killing more than 3,400 people in the 2 countries. Of course, the death toll is going to increase because more bodies will be discovered. So this of course is an understatement. The US Geological Survey has said that the earthquake was centered about 33 kilometers from Gaziantep. Okay. And Gaziantep, as you can see, lies very close to Syria's border with Turkey. That is why both these regions were impacted. This was the first earthquake. Second one was near, just few kilometers north of Gaziantep, and that was of 7.5 magnitude. And this earthquake resulted in many other earthquakes as well. So series of quakes and aftershocks and tremors were felt all across West Asia, Northern Africa, Southeastern Europe, with residents of Lebanon, Cyprus, Greece, Israel and Egypt responding to these tremors. Okay, and this 7.8 magnitude earthquake was 18 kilometers deep. The hypocenter was 18 kilometers deep. And this is one of the reasons why, the energy from the hypocenter did not get enough space to curve inside itself. That is why the energy was quick to reach the ground, and we know that surface waves are more destructive in nature. So within the time span of 12 hours, at least 41 more earthquakes of magnitude 4 or more have been recorded in the same area in southeastern Turkey, close to the borders with Syria. Alright, moving on. What is an earthquake? Earthquake is an intense shaking of the ground, which is caused by the movement of Earth's surface. When does it happen? It happens when 2 blocks of Earth suddenly slip past one another. This is a block and this is another block. We are talking about tectonic plates. Generally what happens, the edges of these plates are very crooked in nature, while the rest of the surface might be plane. So when these 2 plates meet each other, these crooked regions might get stuck into each other, okay, while the remaining of the plates keep on moving. Once that happens, a lot of energy is stored here because they are unable to move, and energy is getting stored and stored and stored. Once they get detached from each other, the released stored up elastic strain energy happens in the form of earthquake waves or seismic waves that spread through the earth and cause the shaking of the ground. Alright, moving ahead, now we talk about why do earthquakes actually occur. We all know that the earth's crust is made up of certain plates. These are known as tectonic plates. These tectonic plates are divided like Eurasian plate, Indian plate, Australian plate, Arabian plate, African plate, South American and North American plate. Minor plates include Caribbean plate, Cocos plate, Nazca plate, Juan de Fuca plate, and major ones of course Pacific plate, Antarctic plate, smaller ones Scotia plate, and smaller ones Philippine Sea plate. Okay, so these are the major and minor plates in which the earth is divided into. The edges of the plates are called plate boundaries. These plate boundaries, because they have fault in them, that is why they are known as fault, and they constantly move at a slow pace when they slide past each other. And these two we have already discussed, the crooked spaces storing up energy because they are unable to move, the rest of the plates move, and once they start moving, once they get detached, the fault widens, then the stored energy gets released in the form of seismic waves. Now, what exactly causes the earthquake? See, I have already told you that the location below the Earth's surface where the earthquake starts is known as hypocenter. This is the surface. From here, the earthquake is starting. So, this is the hypocenter. And the location which is directly above the hypocenter is known as the epicenter. Okay, so remember this for preliminary examination. The reasons for such a deadly earthquake in Turkey and Syria. See, first of all, Turkey and Syria, they both lie along the seismic fault line which is called the Anatolia tectonic block, and this runs through northern, central and eastern Turkey. It is seismically active zone but not as active as the Himalayan fault. So we have to understand that this could be asked in your prelims examination. Large earthquakes of magnitude 5 or higher have not been very frequent in the recent years. Only 3 earthquakes of magnitude 6 or more have happened in the region since 1970. The last major quake in this area came in January 2020. Okay. Now, moving forward, if we talk about the seismicity of this region, the seismicity is originated from the interaction between Eurasian plate, Arabian plate and African plate. So, what happens that the region becomes extremely sensitive to seismic activities. The Arabian plate is pushing northward. Okay, this is pushing northward, and it is slight westward movement from the Anatolian plate where Turkey is situated. Now, it happened around the near vertical fault line on the eastern Anatolian block. It is here. This is the East Anatolian fault. Here only we can see that the quake occurred because of the presence of this fault, and also there is the northward movement of the Arabian plate. Okay, and it is close to the Syrian border, of course, this fault, and that is why both the countries of Turkey and Syria were impacted, highly impacted. The mechanism and location of earthquake are consistent with the earthquake having occurred either the East Anatolian fault zone or the Dead Sea transformed fault zone. This is the Dead Sea transformed fault zone, and the earthquake occurred here on the either side of East Anatolian fault and even the side of Dead Sea transform. Okay, and the East Anatolian fault accommodates the westward extrusion of Turkey in the Aegean Sea. Okay, and the Dead Sea transform accommodates the northward motion of the Arabian Peninsula that I have already told you, which is relative to the African and Eurasian plate. Alright, moving ahead, now Monday's earthquake, it emerged from the relatively shallow depths. That means the hypocenter was not very deep. The first quake with a magnitude of 7.8 was just 18 kilometers, approximately 18 kilometers below the Earth's surface, and all the subsequent ones, they emerged even closer to the ground. So what happens that if supposedly here the hypocenter is, it is at supposedly 30 kilometer deep, the hypocenter. So when the energy gets released, it travels like this. So it has a lot of time and space. It actually has a lot more space than time. So when it has a lot of space, the energy gets absorbed within that space only. And now supposedly this is the 18 kilometer hypocenter. So here the space is much smaller than the hypocenter of 30 kilometers. So that is why they reach the surface faster. And we know that surface waves are not very healthy. Deeper earthquakes lose much of their energy by the time they come to the surface, although they spread farther. Okay, remember that. Moving ahead, now magnitude is another thing that we have to know. Magnitude is the measure of how big the waves are. Alright, and while the strength refers to the energy it carries. Magnitude is measured on the logarithmic scale, and seismic waves, which is produced by a magnitude of 6 earthquakes, have 10 times higher amplitude than the ones which are produced by magnitude 5 earthquake. Energy differential is even higher, that is 32 times for every change in 1 degree in magnitude. 1 in magnitude, not degree. Now in general, every change of 0.1 in magnitude results in 1.4 times the energy. Okay, remember. Now another point here we have to notice is the president of Turkey has said that this is the deadliest earthquake since the Erzincan earthquake. Here, when it happened, about 33,000 people were killed. It took place on December 26, 1939. It caused extreme damage in the Erzincan plain and the Kelkit River Valley. The earthquake measured 7.8 on the Richter scale. It occurred on the North Anatolian fault zone. Let us see where is North Anatolian fault zone. Here it occurred, the Erzincan one. Okay, moving forward. Now, it created a 360 kilometer surface rupture, which is still visible according to some studies. Alright. Now, a tsunami back then, the Erzincan earthquake, a tsunami at Fatsa on Turkey's Black Sea coast was also recorded by tide stations from Tuapse, Russia to Sevastopol in Ukraine. Now, let's talk about, can they be measured? Predicted, not measured. Prediction is possible for earthquakes? No. Because some sort of a precursory signal from within the earthquake is needed if we have to indicate that an earthquake is going to take place. We do not have tools for that. Moreover, the signal must also occur only before large earthquake, because smaller tremors are also very common. But if we want to protect ourselves, we have to ensure that it is from the larger earthquakes. We do not have any tools for that. Moving ahead, some other earthquakes, let us see. Now, in 2020, in October 2020, an earthquake measuring 7 hit the Greek island of Samos in the Aegean Sea, which killed 24 in Turkey and more in Greece. Here is Samos, very close to Turkey. Now, in 2020, in January that year, an earthquake of magnitude 6.7 killed at least 22 people. In eastern Turkey, tremors were felt in Syria, Georgia, and even Armenia. Again, here in 2011 and 10, we saw certain earthquakes. So, a geography question could definitely emerge from this, and you will get a lot of help if you go through this segment. That's it. Thank you so much for watching.